Welcome back. I'm Felix, and this is 10 sci-fi TV shows that were incredible, then vanished. There's probably a lot. I'm not even going to hazard a guess. And I'm also not sure how old they're going to go. But yeah, there's a lot of sci-fi shows that they came on strong, everybody loved them, and then either the show went off the rails and just vanished, or in some cases just finished their story and never saw it again. Didn't even land in syndication. It was just gone. Especially now, actually. You'll have some great sci-fi shows on streaming services, but then the streaming services will stop showing it and you can't find it anyplace else. And it's just gone. It's like, well, the downside of streaming. But let's get into it. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and let's watch some sci-fi.
What if I told you some of the greatest sci-fi shows ever made just disappeared? We're not talking about average run-of-the-mill space dramas here. These were bold, imaginative, and in some cases groundbreaking. They pushed boundaries, told stories no one else dared to, and built entire worlds that should have kept us hooked for years. And yet somehow, they vanished. Some were canceled too soon. Others quietly faded out of the spotlight. A few were so ahead of their time, audiences just didn't know what to make of them. But here's the kicker. Every single show on this list was incredible in its own way, and none of them got the ending they deserved. Let's start with the first one. A space western so beloved it sparked a cult movement after just one season. Number 10, Firefly, 2002.
I'm going to say something that a lot of you who are sci-fi fans, especially of Firefly, I just didn't get it. I couldn't get into it. I did watch the movie. It was all right. I tried to get into the show. I think my mom liked it, but overall, it was all right. For me, if I can see myself wanting to be part of the show or in the show, that means I like it. Firefly, I was good.
Imagine Star Wars meets Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, with better character development. That was Firefly, a space western that crashed and burned before it even had a chance to fly. Created by Joss Whedon, Firefly dropped in 2002 and instantly felt like something different. It wasn't about space battles or laser fights. It was about a ragtag crew of misfits scraping by on the edges of a distant galaxy, doing petty crimes to survive and sticking together like family. At the center of it all, Captain Malcolm Reynolds, played by Nathan Fillion, equal parts Han Solo and weary war veteran with nothing left to lose. The show had depth. It explored class divides, post-war trauma, morality, and loyalty, all while balancing humor, action, and heartbreak. But here's the tragedy. Firefly was doomed from the start. Fox aired the episodes out of order, promoted it terribly, and after just 11 of the 14 produced episodes were shown, the network pulled the plug. No warning, no proper finale. Just silence. But something rare happened. The fans didn't let go. They campaigned. They bought DVDs in droves. They sold out fan events. And in 2005...
It's 2025, and you're still using the same cable network?
Their devotion paid off, kind of, with the release of Serenity, a feature film that gave the story some closure, but not nearly enough for those who believed this show could have been the next Star Trek. Even now...
For those of you who caught that, I was on the verge of losing power. It's been storming and lights started flickering. But I think I'm back. So let's see. We're watching Firefly, so let's pick up there.
Over 2 decades later, Firefly remains one of the most beloved canceled shows in sci-fi history. It's taught in screen...
Yeah, I do believe I already said couldn't get into it. It just wasn't for me.
It's been dissected in fan forums, and it's held up as the poster child for brilliant show, terrible network decisions. It wasn't just that Firefly was good. It was ahead of its time. The mix of gritty realism, slow burn storytelling, and found family dynamics is something you now see everywhere, from The Mandalorian to The Expanse. But back then, TV just didn't know what to do with it, and the crew...
I'm going to say you're overselling it, because there were other shows... they weren't necessarily sci-fi, but there were other shows that did this kind of storyline, and probably a lot of them that did it way better. But it always bugs me when I hear people try to say that this, like, not necessarily Firefly, but like where they're trying to sell you on a show and they're trying to say, this did it first. In reality, it didn't do it first.
If Firefly aired today, it would have been an instant hit. But Firefly isn't the only sci-fi show that was too smart for the system. Because up next, we're diving into a prequel that tried to outthink its iconic parent series and ended up buried by its own ambition. Number 9, Caprica, 2010.
Wait a minute, what the hell were they showing? They showed Lex. I thought they were going... Yeah, why'd they show all that crap for? This had nothing to do with Caprica. This had nothing to do with Battlestar. This is Lex.
And ended up buried by its own ambition. Number 9, Caprica, 2010. Before humanity went to war with the Cylons, there was...
This ship was. Oh, man.
Cerebral, slow-burning prequel to Battlestar Galactica that dared to ask, what if artificial intelligence had a soul?
This is... I can't get into this one. This one moved too slow. What happened is they had a movie, and the movie actually did really well. The movie did good. And so they made a series out of it. The problem was the series moved too slow. They should have picked the pace up, and I think it would have done better. That was really the hang-up, is everything was just moving way too slow. And there were some storylines, because I did try to watch, because I did like Battlestar, and I tried to watch this, but some of the storylines got convoluted, where I missed something, and I didn't know what the hell was going on, so I'm done. I don't want to have to rewatch everything, because I definitely missed something somewhere.
8 years before the fall of the 12 colonies, Caprica wasn't your typical sci-fi adventure. There were no space dogfights, no military standoffs. Instead, it focused on two powerful families, the Greystones and the Adamas, as they navigated grief, corruption, and the birth of something horrifying, the first sentient AI. At the center of it all,
pretty sure he didn't say any of those names right,
was Zoe Greystone, a teenage girl who died in a terrorist attack, only to be resurrected digitally. Her father, a tech genius, creates a prototype robot and uploads Zoe's consciousness into it, unleashing a philosophical sci-fi nightmare. What defines life? What happens when grief meets godlike tech? And can humans really control what they create? It was brilliant, but it was also slow, heavy, and way too dense for primetime TV. Audiences expecting space battles were instead served political intrigue, religious conflict, and long ethical debates. Critics were split. Some called it visionary, others called it boring. The show struggled with pacing and tone, and Sci-Fi, despite greenlighting a full season, pulled the plug halfway through. In the end, Caprica only aired 18 episodes.
Stop saying Caprica, you AI monster. It's Caprica. I probably didn't even say it right just now. I'm so angry. Oh man, I hate when they do that, mispronounce the word so bad. It's just
leaving dozens of story threads unresolved. And yet, what it introduced became foundational to the Battlestar Galactica universe. The invention of the Cylons, the cultural divide between science and religion, the way humans tried to play God and lost. What's wild is that if Caprica had come out in today's streaming era, it might have thrived. Its themes, transhumanism, virtual reality, digital immortality, are more relevant than ever. It was essentially Westworld before Westworld, with none of the Polish and all of the brain power. Over time...
They say Polish? I just caught that. Wait a minute.
Digital immortality are more relevant than ever. It was essentially Westworld before Westworld, with none of the Polish and all of the brain power. Over time, Caprica has gained a quiet respect, a cult following. Fans who see it not as a failed experiment, but a flawed masterpiece that dared to explore what sci-fi often avoids, the emotional weight of technological progress. And if Caprica...
Oh, dear God. I may have to fast forward to this one. But Battlestar Galactica touched on all that stuff. So I don't know what it... Whoever wrote this script did not watch Battlestar Galactica, because it touched on all that stuff. This isn't new. It touched on religion, it touched on politics, it touched on betrayal, it touched on all of that stuff.
Was about the mind. The next show on our list was all heart. Chaos, a living spaceship, a dead assassin, a lovesick robot head, and an interstellar road trip that broke every rule in the book. Number 8. Lex, 1997 to 2002. Imagine if Star Trek got drunk, took a wrong turn into a fever dream, and ended up crashing into a punk rock opera in deep space. That's
I've never heard it quite described that way.
Lex, a sci-fi show so bizarre, so unpredictable, and so unapologetically weird that it somehow carved out its own cult status while completely defying explanation. Lex wasn't just a show, it was an experience. This Canadian-German co-production first aired in 1997 and followed a mismatched crew traveling through two universes aboard the Lex, a giant, bug-shaped living spaceship that could blow up entire planets with a single blast from its mouth. Yes, you heard that right. The ship had a mouth, and it talked. The crew? Even weirder. Stanley Tweedle, a cowardly, accidental captain. Zev Bellringer, a love slave hybrid with lizard DNA and a bad attitude. Kai.
The funny thing is, this woman here was the first one, and then they had her, she left, but they wrote it that she just mutated into that person. They did it in such a way it was still the same character. One thing, I don't know, I probably won't touch on it, but we were the dark universe. They were actually in the light universe with all the stuff going on, and then they crossed over to the dark universe, which was us, and we were way, way worse, apparently, because we were so behind in stuff.
An undead assassin from a dead race, and 790, a decapitated robot head hopelessly in love with Zev. It was grotesque, funny, sexy, sad, often all in the same scene. And yet, Lex worked. Sort of. It was raw, low budget, and tonally unstable. One episode might be satirical and silly, the next, disturbing and philosophical. There were parodies of religion, politics, consumerism. Nothing was safe. It felt like the showrunners asked, what's the absolute weirdest way we could do this? And then actually did it. But while its fearless creativity drew in a passionate fan base, it also turned off mainstream audiences. Networks didn't know how to market it, critics couldn't make sense of it, and US viewers mostly missed it altogether. Despite running for 4 seasons, Lex remained in the shadows.
I believe I saw this on Sci-Fi Channel and the USA Network late at night.
To die, too strange to live. Today,
I think it's funny, he's using all the scenes of the original Zeb and not the one he featured when he introduced Zeb. I just caught that.
Cult classic for those who like their sci-fi twisted, subversive, and completely unhinged. Think Doctor Who on hallucinogens, or Farscape with its brain melted and morals blurred. It never tried to be safe, and maybe that's why it vanished. Because nothing this weird was ever meant to survive in the age of network TV. But speaking of darkness...
Before he goes into the next one. Yeah, Lex, that was not meant for everyone, so I can't really recommend you go watch it. I liked it because it was off the wall and it wasn't what you were expecting. There was a lot of people who made cameos in it that you probably recognize, like the actor from Red Dwarf, he was in it. And there was a lot of Canadian actors in it, a lot of British actors in it. You probably, if you go back and watch it, oh, I know that person, I know that person. But yeah, it was just an off-the-wall show. It's not meant for everyone. And there's a lot of situations they get in, it's like, could have been easily avoided if Stanley was not in charge.
Show on our list literally vanished into the shadows, so dimly lit and cryptic that even its biggest fans struggled to see what was happening. Number 7. Night Flyers, 2018. What do you get when you mix deep space, psychological horror, and the twisted mind of George R.R. Martin? You get Night Flyers, a sci-fi thriller that had all...
I've never heard of this one. I know nothing about it.
...for greatness, and still vanished into the black. Released in 2018, Night Flyers was adapted from a novella Martin wrote back in the 1980s. Sci-Fi and Netflix teamed up to make it their next big hit, touting it as Event Horizon meets The Shining, with a futuristic twist. The premise was hauntingly simple. A group of scientists and a telepath set off aboard a mysterious ship to make contact with an alien species. But instead of answers, they find madness, murder, and a ship that seems to have a mind.
I may have to look this one up because I don't remember it at all.
And agenda of its own. It sounded perfect. The cast was solid, the sets were stunning, and the tone? Unsettling in the best way. So what went wrong? First, the lighting. This isn't a joke. One of the biggest complaints was that the show was literally too dark to see. Whole scenes were drowned in shadows, making it impossible to follow the action. Even the tension often came across as confusing instead of creepy. Then, there was the plot. While it aimed for cerebral sci-fi, it often fell into incoherence. Characters made baffling decisions, and instead of building suspense, the show meandered. For something that promised edge-of-your-seat dread, it often just felt cold. Despite being promoted as a prestige sci-fi event, Night Flyers failed to capture any real audience. Ratings dropped fast. Critics were harsh. And just weeks after its debut, Sci-Fi pulled the plug. Netflix quietly removed it from its top promotions. It didn't just vanish, it was erased. Which is tragic, because underneath the murky direction and muddled execution was a genuinely chilling idea. A haunted house. In space. A telepath slowly losing his grip. A spaceship haunted not by ghosts, but by the dark side of human ambition. There's a version of Night Flyers that could have been unforgettable. Instead, it became a cautionary tale. Even with a giant name and a massive budget, bad lighting and poor storytelling can doom even the most promising projects. But now, let's shift from horror to hard science fiction, because the next show didn't just vanish. It came back, only to disappear again, leaving fans begging for more. Welcome to The Expanse. Number 6, The Expanse, 2015 to 2020.
I never got into this. I tried to watch a couple episodes. I just couldn't get into it. I think this is one of those gritty sci-fi shows. Too many modern sci-fi shows try to be gritty and hard-hitting and conscious of what they're talking about and stuff. I miss the fun sci-fi shows. And I miss the sci-fi... I'll give you an example. Deep Space Nine. It had its moments, let me tell you. But even so, it was still a fun show to watch. You got fun, you got hard hitting, and you got your sci-fi. So I miss sci-fi shows that had that balance. And most of them just go straight dark and gritty. And right then there, they lose me. Maybe that's why I didn't like Firefly. Firefly did have some humor, but they were more focused on being dark and gritty than... I don't know. But I did try to get into The Expanse, and I just couldn't.
Some sci-fi shows are ahead of their time. The Expanse, it might have been right on time, and still got cut short. Debuting in 2015 on Sci-Fi, The Expanse was bold, brainy, and unapologetically dense. Based on the acclaimed novels by James S.A. Corey, it dropped viewers into a future where humanity had colonized the solar system, Earth, Mars, and the Belt, all teetering on the edge of war. This wasn't space fantasy. This was science fiction with gravity boots, language dialects, orbital politics, and physics that actually made sense. Every ship maneuver was grounded in reality. Every character was flawed, complicated, and morally gray. And at the center of it all, a mysterious alien substance called the proto-molecule that could change the very fabric of life. The Expanse didn't hold your hand. It didn't dumb anything down, and that's why fans loved it. But Sci-Fi, once again, didn't quite know what to do with a slow burn, detail-heavy epic.
He keeps talking about slow burn, detail-heavy epic. You can move too slow, and that could be part of the reasons why I didn't like it. If the pacing is off to the point where I'm just like, I'm playing on my phone or doing something else, it means I'm not interested. You got to keep the pace moving. And I'm not talking about every scene has to be action. It's just, if this is not an action-packed show, you got to keep that pace moving. And if it's not moving, you're losing audience.
Full attention. After just 3 seasons, the network canceled it, despite critical praise and a growing online fanbase. And then something rare happened. A second chance. Fans rallied. A passionate #SaveTheExpanse campaign erupted across Twitter. Even Amazon's Jeff Bezos, allegedly a huge fan, stepped in and rescued the show. It moved to Prime Video, got 3 more seasons, and wrapped up, sort of. You see, The Expanse is based on a 9-book saga, but the series ended after season 6, right in the middle of the full narrative arc. The final episodes delivered closure for one storyline, but left an entire galaxy of unresolved questions and character fates dangling in the void. Why? Budget, viewership, the classic streaming math problem. Even greatness has limits. Still, what The Expanse accomplished was monumental. It proved that smart sci-fi could survive, that world-building didn't need aliens in rubber suits or explosions every 5 minutes, and that fans could still save a show from extinction, at least for a little while. But if The Expanse was a resurrection, the next show was a wipeout. Massive budget, massive hype, and it still got devoured by its own ambition and a few very angry dinosaurs. Number 5. Terra Nova,
God.
2011. It had dinosaurs. It had time travel. It had Steven Spielberg.
I'm going to tell you right off why this didn't work. It's because it wasn't logical. The premise was they went back in time to dinosaurs to save humanity. Why not go back in time to when the great disaster happened, or go back in time to like modern times and change from that point forward? Or, you know what I mean? But if you go all the way back to dinosaurs before mankind was even there, you're going to erase history. You're going to change everything. I don't know if they were supposed to also be in an alternate reality, but that's the premise. That's how it was pitched, and I just couldn't get into it. I didn't like the acting. I did try to watch it. I think I watched half of the episode, and I was, I'm good. It was just too much. I just couldn't get into it.
Name plastered all over it. On paper, Terra Nova looked like the next sci-fi juggernaut.
No, it didn't. I guarantee you it didn't. They saw Steven Spielberg's name and went, let's do it!
Instead, it vanished faster than a T-Rex in a thunderstorm. Premiering in 2011 on Fox, Terra Nova was a high-concept gamble. The setup? Earth in the year 2149 is dying. Pollution, overpopulation, total environmental collapse. Humanity's solution? Open a one-way portal back 85 million years to prehistoric Earth and start over. Colonists are sent through in waves to rebuild civilization among the dinosaurs. Literally, the show followed the Shannon family, who escape a dystopian future to join the colony. But it wasn't just a survival story. There were rebel factions, corporate sabotage, mysterious glyphs, and prehistoric predators lurking in the jungle. It tried to blend Jurassic Park, Lost, and Avatar into one, and the ambition was undeniable. Each episode reportedly cost over $4 million to produce. The pilot alone was a $14 million spectacle.
They were trying to make a movie for every episode as a movie. The return was not there, first off. That was too much. Secondly, it was a flawed concept. I don't care what anyone says. It just didn't work.
The CGI was impressive for network TV. The sets were immersive, and the stakes were enormous. But the cracks began to show fast. Critics were split. Some praised its scope and potential. Others called it shallow and predictable. The family drama often felt forced. The rebels versus government plotline got muddy. And for a show about dinosaurs, there actually weren't that many dinosaurs. Viewership started strong, but dropped steadily. And after just 11 episodes, ending on a cliffhanger, Fox quietly pulled the plug. No finale. No resolution, just extinction. What made it sting even more was the potential. The world building was rich, and the ideas were there. Had it been greenlit today for a streaming service, with time to mature and a slower rollout, it might have found its footing. But in the world of 2011 network television, if you didn't...
I don't know if this would have done good on streaming either. It's just, it was flawed. There's not a way around it. And the budget was way too much. For the amount of money they were sinking into it, and they weren't going to get that return.
Deliver instant ratings, and fast, you were done. Now, Terra Nova is a footnote, a relic, a reminder that even massive budgets and big names can't save a show if the execution doesn't quite match the ambition. And speaking of second chances, our next entry wasn't just a reboot. It was a reimagining that dared to outdo its iconic original, only to be left hanging when things finally got good. Number 4. V. 2009 to 2011. When alien ships hovered over Earth cities, offering peace, technology.
The remake I never watched. I do know she actually appears in it. She was the lead villainess in the original V. And I know she pops up in the other one. But yeah, I never got around to watching the remake. It just didn't appeal to me.
Technology and salvation. Everyone knew better. Because if you'd seen the original V from 1983, you knew these visitors weren't here to help. They were here to eat us. So, when ABC announced a reboot in 2009, expectations were sky high. The original V was campy, iconic, and deeply political. The reboot aimed to modernize everything. Bigger budget, sleeker aliens, sharper themes. It starred Elizabeth Mitchell, fresh off Lost, as Erica Evans, an FBI agent uncovering the horrifying truth behind the visitors, and Morena Baccarin played Anna, the alien leader with a disarming smile and a taste for manipulation. For a moment, it worked. The pilot was explosive, literally and figuratively. It drew over 14 million viewers. Fans were hooked. The visitors weren't just invading Earth, they were invading minds. Through PR campaigns, media control, and genetic manipulation, they weren't just lizard monsters in disguise, they were allegories for authoritarianism wrapped in a smile. But then, everything stalled. ABC kept changing the show's schedule. First it aired, then it vanished for months. By the time season 1 resumed, momentum had evaporated. And season 2? It got darker, riskier, and genuinely intriguing. Characters were killed off. Anna's daughter rebelled. The resistance finally struck back. Just as things were heating up, ABC canceled it.
Yeah, it sounded like ABC was trying to destroy the show. Yeah, I couldn't get into it because I never watched it. It's just, I watched the original. Like I said, I had no desire to see the remake. It just didn't appeal to me to want to watch it. I don't watch all the remakes. I don't know what it was about the remake that made me not want to watch it. I was just like, I'm good. But it sounds like they were trying to destroy the show the way they moved it around and delayed stuff.
No finale, no closure, just a silent fade into the TV void. Fans were livid. The show had finally started tapping into the paranoia and power struggle that made the original so memorable. And Morena Baccarin's performance, still praised as one of the most chillingly calm villains in sci-fi.
You know, this picture makes it look like she has a super long neck.
History. There were petitions, rumors of a third season, even talk of a film, but it never happened. V joined the long list of sci-fi series that got interesting too late, and never got to finish what it started. It's a cautionary tale. In TV, timing is everything. And when networks yank you around, even a strong cast and a nostalgic brand can't keep the ship from crashing. And speaking of starships, the next show was supposed to be the spiritual heir to Star Trek, built from the mind of Gene Roddenberry himself, but what it delivered was something far more complicated. Number 3. Earth, Final Conflict.
I wonder which one they were talking about. I was thinking Andromeda or Earth Final Conflict. Yeah, Earth Final Conflict, I watched it all the way to the end. I would say the last couple seasons it went off the... Actually, by the second season it was going off the rails. It's like they lost their direction and they didn't know what to do. The second season, it didn't make any sense to me. Because the main character basically got killed off. Then he comes back, and then he gets killed off screen. And in the meantime, they brought someone else in who's really actually like a day old, and he becomes the leader. And then he disappears. And then the female character, who's been there for a while, she ends up becoming the main lead character, which they should have just done that in the second season. And then the aliens weren't the same aliens by the end. It was just... It's like they lost their direction. They just lost it. They didn't know how to get it back. It was like, you guys should have just stopped.
1997 to 2002. What happens when a show is built on the legacy of Star Trek's creator, but ends up drifting into chaos? Earth, Final Conflict was the brain...
Because like I said, the first season, it was great. Second season, I was like, huh? Third season, it was like, what? And it's just like, it's like they didn't know what to do. Because it was based on his idea. I kind of wonder if he had it like scripted up to so far, not even like scripts, but notes or something, how he had it up so far, and then they just didn't know what to do after that.
Barry, sort of. The story goes that Roddenberry developed the concept in the 70s, but it wasn't produced until nearly a decade after his death, when his widow Michael Barrett Roddenberry resurrected the idea.
Oh yeah, she was in the show too. She was in this show.
Life. The premise was gold. Aliens known as the Tylons arrive on Earth with...
No, I think it's Talons. God, mispronunciation. It makes me wonder how many other things this AI thing would mispronounce. I'm saying it's AI, or one of those voice reading script things. It just mispronouncing names left and right.
Promises of peace, advanced tech, and a utopian future. They cure diseases, end hunger, stop war. But of course, there's a catch. Because nothing comes free, especially from beings who seem just a little too perfect. Beneath the sleek exterior, Earth, Final Conflict was about trust, manipulation, and control. The Talons had secrets,
Oh,
humanity
right.
had resistance fighters, and the battle for truth simmered just beneath the surface of every diplomatic smile and glowing orb. For its first season, it was solid. Sharp writing, intriguing moral questions, a slow build that rewarded patient viewers. And then, the retooling began. Characters were written off abruptly. The main protagonist was killed and replaced. The tone shifted from political intrigue to high-concept alien warfare. New alien races were introduced, then another. Plotlines came and went. Continuity became a casualty. It was like watching a show reinvent itself every season, without ever telling the audience why. And yet, it stayed on the air for 5 seasons. Why? Syndication deals, die-hard fans, and the Roddenberry name kept it alive. But by the end, Earth. Final Conflict was barely recognizable from where it started. What began as a smart, speculative sci-fi drama devolved into something almost unwatchable, chaotic, inconsistent, and frustratingly unresolved. It's the kind of series that still sparks debates online. Some fans defend its ambition, others see it as a squandered opportunity. One thing's clear, without strong showrunning and story cohesion,
I agree. This show has so much potential to be one of Gene's great legacies, and it just dropped the ball. I actually did a video on it, how I think they should redo it, and one, they shouldn't have killed off the main character. I don't know if he just wanted to leave. He was the main character in the first season. I don't know if he just wanted to leave or what, but definitely, I liked his character. His character was awesome. And I definitely think they should try to redo it. But the problem is, it was the way he played the character. I don't know if anyone else could have pulled off some of the nuances that he did. I'm not saying like he's the world's greatest actor, but it's just, you know, actors have something about them when they play a character. They just embody that character. My fear would be they would get someone who would change the character or try to do something with the character that really shouldn't be done with the character. Or if we're lucky, we'll get someone who do a better job. I would prefer to get someone who does a better job. Because like I said, he did a great job, and then all of a sudden, he was gone. The first season was great. And then after that, I kept waiting for it to get better again. It just is all over the place. My thing is, if they were going to kill him off, they should have done it. One, they should have just kept him dead. He didn't stay dead, unfortunately. And that actually, to me, ruined it. And there's some other things. It's like, if you're going to kill a character off, leave him dead. I know it's sci-fi, and this one was kind of supposed to be like based in reality in the sense, you know, that sci-fi that's based in reality where someone dies, they stay dead. They should have did that with this. As you can tell, I was a fan of this show. Still am a fan. I recently rewatched it, and I just wish, oh man, it has such potential.
even the best sci-fi premise can crumble under its own complexity. But if Earth, Final Conflict tried to be cerebral, the next show embraced total chaos. Puppets, space battles, and emotional gut punches, all wrapped in one wild ride. Strap in, because next up is the gloriously bizarre, painfully cancelled cult classic. Number 2, Farscape, 1999.
He said puppets. I'm like, puppets? What had puppets? Farscape had puppets. This was Jim Henson's puppetry, actually. That's why they look so great. And right off the bat, I liked Farscape, but I recently tried to rewatch it, and I can't rewatch it. It's like Knight Rider. I went to rewatch Knight Rider. I was like, I can't watch this. But Farscape, when I first watched it, was a great watch. But to go back and rewatch it is like, nah, can't do it.
2003. If Star Trek was the polished Academy student, Farscape was the rebellious dropout, tearing through the galaxy in a living ship with no rules, no backup, and nothing to lose. Premiering in 1999, Farscape came out of nowhere. Produced by the Jim Henson Company, yes, the people behind the Muppets, and shot in Australia, it immediately stood out. Not just for its visual style, but for its wild, untamed energy. This wasn't clean, procedural sci-fi. This was messy, emotional, and unpredictable. The story followed John Crichton, a modern-day astronaut flung through a wormhole into a distant part of the universe. He ends up aboard Moya, a massive living ship populated by escaped prisoners and alien outcasts. No Federation, no mission, just survival. But Farscape was more than just space action. It was deeply character-driven, loaded with complex relationships, slow burn romances, betrayals, and redemption arcs that hit like a punch to the chest. And it had range. Episodes could swing from heartbreaking to hilarious, surreal to philosophical.
I'm just sitting here agreeing. Yeah. And just like, unfortunately, a lot of shows, I would say I'll say about the middle, it kind of lost its way. And then it circled back around and was starting to find its footing again. And then it got canceled. And then they did was it just one movie? I think they just did one movie. And the movie was designed to tie up loose ends, and it did. But, yeah. Unfortunately, shows, it's like they map out for so far, and then they're like, we'll just wing it from here on out. And you can tell the difference between a show that's been mapped out versus a show that's just winging it. And in the beginning, this one felt mapped out, and then somewhere along the lines, they lost the map. But then it came back, and it was good, and yeah, I think if it hadn't lost its way, it probably could have went on much longer than it did.
Momentum. The cast was incredible, the puppetry was groundbreaking, and the universe it built, unlike anything else on TV, it was Star Wars by way of Mad Max, dipped in psychodrama and shot through with black comedy. So what happened? Well, the Sci-Fi Channel, now Sci-Fi, pulled the plug after 4 seasons. The show was leading into its biggest cliffhanger yet, the kind that left fans screaming at their screens. And then, silence. No season 5, no conclusion. Just an abrupt cancellation due to rising costs and shifting network priorities. The backlash was instant. Fans launched campaigns.
This strange story happened to me a long time ago. Our aircraft carrier was returning to the port after a prolonged cruise. Everyone longed to be back home, but day after day, we continued to swab the deck and dream about the girls left behind on far shore.
Rallied online, bought out ad space in Variety magazine, and in an unprecedented move, it actually worked. Kind of. 2 years later, Farscape: The Peacekeeper Wars aired as a miniseries to wrap up the main arc. It wasn't perfect, but it was something. Closure, at least. Even now, Farscape stands as one of the most creative sci-fi shows ever made. It didn't play it safe. It didn't explain everything. It trusted the audience to keep up, or get left behind, and maybe that's why it vanished. Because in an era of formulas and focus groups, Farscape was too weird, too bold, and too real. But speaking of weird and bold, the next show took...
I still stand by what I said. It did lose its footing there for a moment. And like I said, it came back. And then it got the movie or the miniseries. And it pretty much cleared up everything. But yeah, it's still a good TV show. It's just, for whatever reason, when I go back to watch it, I just can't. So I still recommend it. Go watch it. You know, as a first watch, if you haven't seen it, go see it. It's just, I guess it's the timing of it. I don't know. Some shows I cannot go back and watch. If I go back and rewatch them, it's lost that something to me. What's weird is I can rewatch Star Trek, Stargate, certain animes I can rewatch over and over. And then there's like shows I really liked, like Farscape, and I can't go back and rewatch them.
Far-off planet, raised by androids, and left us stranded in the creepiest, most beautiful sci-fi mystery of the last decade. Number 1, Raised by Wolves, 2020 to 2022.
Okay, I remember the ads for this. I never watched it. I remember seeing stuff for it. I just never could. It never appealed to me just from the trailer and stuff.
If Ridley Scott and H.R. Geiger had a dream about the Book of Genesis set on a far-off planet, it would probably look something like Raised by Wolves. Premiering in 2020 on HBO Max, this show was weird, brilliant, and deeply unsettling, in the best way. Created by Aaron Guzikowski and executive produced by Ridley Scott himself, it dared to ask one of the most dangerous questions in sci-fi. What happens when the future of humanity is left in the hands of machines and fate? The plot follows 2 androids, mother and father, tasked with raising human children on a desolate, mysterious planet after Earth has been destroyed by religious war. Mother isn't just any android, though. She's a reprogrammed war machine, capable of mass destruction and unexpected tenderness. Her love is genuine and terrifying. What made Raised by Wolves stand out was its atmosphere. Every frame was drenched in tension. Every episode raised more questions than it answered. The show explored creation myths, belief systems, artificial life, parenting, evolution, and the terrifying unknown, all while keeping you visually glued to the screen. But it wasn't easy to follow.
Yeah, like I said, the trailer, it didn't appeal to me. And right now, even now, it doesn't make me want to go watch it.
Pacing was deliberate. The symbolism was thick, and the tone, often cold, alien, and disorienting. It didn't hold your hand, and some viewers checked out early. But for those who stuck with it, Raised by Wolves offered a sci-fi experience unlike anything else on TV. Season 2 doubled down on the weirdness. Flying serpents, bio-horror, religious allegory wrapped in android anxiety. The final episodes left fans on the edge of a massive shift in the story. And then, just like that, it ended. HBO Max canceled the series in 2022, reportedly due to the Warner Brothers Discovery merger. No warning, no resolution, just a few cryptic social media posts from cast and crew, and then silence. Fans begged for another network to pick it up. Hashtags trended, petitions circulated, but the world moved on. And Raised by Wolves became another high-concept casualty of the streaming wars. Still, it left behind a...
I was getting ready to say, there's a lot of shows that actually got the boot because of the merger. And some shows that got removed because of the merger. So, yeah. 2022 wasn't a good year to be on HBO Max.
legacy. That sci-fi can be bold, philosophical, and emotionally raw. That androids can cry, and that sometimes the most human story comes from a machine. But now that we've seen these 10 incredible shows disappear into the void, what does it all mean? Let's wrap this up. So, what do all these shows have in common? They were bold, they were imaginative, they were unlike anything else on television, and that's exactly why they vanished.
Yeah, I'm just going to stop there because I don't agree with that, why they vanished. Some vanished because of the pacing. Some vanished because even though they had a great first season, they went off the rails. Some had a first great couple of seasons, but then lost their footing. But by the time they found it, it was too late. The damage was done. And some were too far into not explaining anything that they said, well, the audience has to figure it out. If you leave everything up to the audience to figure out, the audience is going to be like, yeah, I didn't tune in for a mystery, murder mystery, or, you know what I mean? It's, yeah, sure you want to leave some things for the audience to piece together with their own mind, but when the whole storyline is based on audiences trying to figure out for themselves, you're going to lose the audience, especially if it's not done right. And that happens for a lot of them. And this AI voice was pissing me off with the way it was pronouncing things also. I don't even know what channel this is, but I don't know. I definitely don't agree, because there was another video I was watching that this channel did, and I decided not to post because it was pissing me off to no end. The way they were talking and just praising stuff. It was like, you're praising these movies and they were putting down The Matrix the whole time. I'm not even a huge Matrix fan. It was like, well, this movie did it better. So now it's like, I know that movie, and no, it didn't. And so it's like, it felt like one of those film people who thinks they're better than you because they took a film class or something. I can't watch this. I'm getting too pissed off. And I kind of felt that way watching this video just now, like they were overselling everything. Yeah, these are some good sci-fi. They're not meant for everyone. Like I said, Lex is a good sci-fi, but it's not meant for everyone. It really isn't. Same with Farscape. Farscape's not meant for everyone, but it is a good sci-fi. And Gene Roddenberry's Earth Final Conflict is a good anime, a good sci-fi, but it loses its footing after the first season. You gotta, there's no, even this thing admitted that, which is sad. If they could have kept that flow from the first season all the way on, one, it could have either stayed on longer, or two, it would have such a power like Star Trek that it could have spun off so many sequels and prequels and so on and so forth, but it didn't, because it just, I don't unfortunately, with syndicated shows, it's possible they lost all the writers from the first season. But yeah, I still recommend watching Earth Final Conflict. But yeah, this last one, Raised by Wolves, never got into it. Still does not appeal to me. I don't know what it is about it, but something about it I know it wouldn't be for me. If it appeals to you, go watch it. I'm still a fan of, if it appeals to you, go watch it. Don't let someone talk you out of it. But anyways. All right, everyone. I hope you enjoy that. Don't forget to like and... I think I said this. Did I say in the last video? I'm sick, in case you can't tell. I've been sick for about a week and a half now. I'm starting to get better, and I can't think straight sometimes. So don't forget to like and subscribe, and everyone take care. Later.